Hello, today's topic is concepts of relational database. So in front of you you see a table which I made in Excel. This is a simple table and some people confuse why we need database when we have Excel. It's very straightforward. If you would have only Excel and never learn databases, that's how would you record such table. What this table represents? This table represents vendors and their items. So for example, air deflector, it's like inventory table, right? We have 8 on hand, cost is 545, selling price, then it says that it belongs to vendor AS, which is vendor code AS, vendor name Asterman Industries, and their phone number. And we have many items in our inventory. Imagine that this is inventory of some electronic store, right, on store and which sells some stuff. It has vendors on the right side and items it tries to sell, or the items it keeps track of, or selling items in store on the left side. So let's see what's wrong with this database. With this table, it's not yet database, it's a table. Look, each item belongs to a vendor. So a vendor code represents for each vendor. Now if you notice, each vendor is listed more than once in the table, right? So for example, Mr. Asterman listed 6 times. So anyone who enters any data into this table, they will enter Asterman's at least 6 times, which is a lot, right? It's a lot of redundancy. Meaning that for each item which is sold by Amsterdam Industries, user must enter the same information each time, and this is 6 times. So 6 times you would enter same phone number, 6 times you will enter same name and same vendor code. Imagine if this vendor would have 1000 items or 500 items. Like, imagine that this vendor is Sony, right? Sony has a lot of items. So this is a problem. Similarly, as you can see, another vendor JMZ Technologies, have exactly same problem, right? And vendor code Scripps Distributors have also repeated 6 times. Now imagine that this vendor change phone number. Right, it can happen. They move to different location. Now you have to change phone number on each row. So how do we fix it? How we can make it less redundant, make it less work for data entry person, easier to update? And the answer is simple. We need to use relational database. So to learn answer on all of those questions, right? How can we make it less redundant, make less work for data entry person, easier to update? We will return to our table of vendor. So we will return to our table of vendor a little bit later. But now let's look at relationship closer and define what it is. There are 3 types of relationships that occur in data modeling, right? First example is one-to-one relationship. This exists between student and student number, right? Student ID number, between student and student first name, right? This is a relationship within one row of a table. Second relationship, which we will learn, is one-to-many relationship. A one-to-many relationship exists between courses and sections. Each course may consist of many sections, but each section is associated exactly with one course. The third relationship is many-to-many. Many-to-many relationship exists between student and courses, for example. Each student can take many courses, right, in school, and each course can contain many students. Let me show you every relationship one by one so you can understand it. And just for the future, if you have problem understanding it, it's not really a problem. It takes some time to understand the concept of relationship, and within this class we will cover it many times. So if you have difficulties, just try look at it again, and if you have questions, don't forget to send me an email. But I'm sure that you will do fine. So the simplest relationship is one-to-one relationship. For example, we have table, I call it authors, right? So authors tables have 3 fields: primary key, author ID, author last name, and author first name. And I have some data which is entered for you, right? Oops. So, and I have some data which is entered for you. So, one-to-one relationship is a relationship within one row. So every item within one particular row is related to each other. For example, KRB123, this is author ID. It's related in one-to-one relationship with author first name John, and author last name Adams. Author last name Adams related to John as one-to-one relationship. Author name last name Corman related to Stephen, related to Stephen as one-to-one. Corman related to Stephen as one-to-one relationship. So any item related to each other as one-to-one within one row of a table. So you need only one table to have one-to-one relationship. It's simple relationship. Now in my recording, and generally if you read a book, this relationship would be called 1-1 or 1-to-1, which means the same thing. So if you see 1-to-1 and 1-to-1, it means relationship between items within one row. Next is one-to-many relationship. One-to-many relationship can be written on a paper in different ways, such as 1-m, or you can say in word 1-to-many or 1-to-infinity. In most of the cases, especially with Microsoft Access, it will be written in this format, 1 and infinity. What it means? Let's take, for example, a books, right? Since we start talking about authors, let's continue with it. One book can have only one publisher, but one publisher can have many books, or none of the books, right? For example, book 2 can have a publisher A, publish book 2. In same way, same publisher publish book 1 and 3. Publisher B publish book 3, and publisher C did not publish any books, right? So one publisher can publish many books, right? This means that publisher is one part of relationship, and many part is books, because one book can have only one publisher, but publisher can have many books. This example of one-to-many relationship. In order to create one-to-many relationships, you need to add foreign key to many part table. To this part, to table books, you will need to add foreign key. We will learn what it is now. So let's imagine we want to create table publisher. Primary key publisher ID. We'll have it as a short text 3. Then we'll have publisher name, short text 80, for example. So it will have only 80 characters in publisher name, not more. Now let's have table books. It will have primary key book ID, which we can have author number, and title text 100, and a title of a book, right? And as we said, foreign key is we need to have foreign key for the table books. So foreign key is the primary key of the table which you try to connect. In our example, the primary key of the table publisher, right? Table publisher. So table publisher, you have publisher key, primary key, PK publisher ID. So if we want to establish one-to-many relation between publisher and books, that's how it is, one-to-many. I will remind you, one publisher can have many books. It means that table books must have a foreign key. Must have a foreign key which will relate to primary key of publisher. Just remember, one thing to remember. Foreign key must have exact same properties as the primary key which you try to connect. So, foreign key, if primary key is publisher ID short text 3, it means foreign key must be also short text 3. And just remember, only when primary key is auto number, as it shows here, then foreign key is equal to number. So you would not use same, auto number can be only primary key. If primary key is auto number here you will have a number. On all other cases, foreign key and primary key, they must be equal. And again, just to remind you, it's easier if you have pen and paper so you can draw. If one publisher can have many books, or one item can have many items, and many part can have only one item, like publisher can publish many books, but one book is always published only with one publisher. So many part of equation gets foreign key. Let's look at it. So this is what we learn now, right? So one publisher can have many books. It's also many one or none, right? So it have more than one book. For example, publisher C does not have any book. Publisher B have only book 3, and publisher A have 3 books, right? So we have table publisher with sample data, right? So I wrote a sample data. So table publisher has 3 publishers: Thompson, Johnson Publishing, and Wiley Publishing. And table books, right? And table books have 4 books: Computer Book, Romantic Day Book, Name, Access 2013, Word 2013, right? So, and I enter similar data. Foreign key have a primary key of a publisher. For example, in this table we see that publisher Thompson with ID Tom, right? So that's how they related, through primary key through the foreign key, right? Foreign key relates to the publisher, to the primary key. So we can see that publisher Thompson have 3 books. Publisher Johnson have only 1 book. And Wiley does not have any books, because we don't have any value for Wiley in a publisher, foreign key publisher ID. A many-to-many relationship can be written on a paper in a different way, such as MM, or many-to-many, or infinity-to-infinity. Many-to-many relationship is similar to one-to-many relationship, but a little bit different. One book can have many authors, for example, and one author can have many books. So that's how it shows. You need to have 2 tables, table authors and table books. You have author 1, 2, and 3, and you have book 1, 2, and 3, right? So author 1 can write book 1 and 2, and author 2 also can contribute to book 2, and at the same time author 3 can write book 3, right? So for many-to-many relationship, you need to create a 3rd table, which will have foreign keys to tables you need to connect. You also can add other needed attributes fields to that table. So for example, we create foreign key for table authors, which must be exactly as the primary key for table authors, and we create foreign key to table books. And notice, if primary key for table books auto number, it means foreign key for table books also it cannot be auto number. So if primary key book ID is auto number, we can see that foreign key for book ID is supposed to be a number. And we can enter any other attributes we like. For example, chapters submitted. Let's see how it looks with the data. So we have table authors, table books, and connection table, right? So here is, oops, hold on. So here is what we have so far. We have table publisher connected to table books, and table author with one-to-many relationship, and table authors connected to connection table between authors and books, right? Now let's see how it works. So for example, we have table books connected to table connection, right? Primary key book ID connected to foreign key book ID. Foreign key author ID connected to primary key author ID in table authors, right? Also, you have table publisher, which connects with table books through foreign key publisher ID, right? And I have inputted data so you would see how it works. So what we will do now for the exercise, and you will have separate video for that, we'll try to create this database and see how to make connection between tables. Let's continue.